Welcome to Uplink, where we explore the world of digital infrastructure, uncovering the technology fueling AI and cloud innovation with the leaders making it happen. I'm your host, Michael Reid, and my guest today is an old friend, Brink Sanders, Senior Vice President of Global Networking Sales at Cisco. Yeah, the guy leading the crown jewels. We look at how Cisco is simplifying modern networks, the shift to hybrid architectures, and how AI is reshaping security, segmentation, and operations from campus to cloud, along with some of Brink's career journey. Let's dive in. Well, welcome to another session of Uplink. I've got Brink Sanders with us today. He's an absolute legend. He and I had a chance to work together for a number of years at Cisco. 17, nearly 18 years at Cisco, had a whole heap of wicked roles, actual global roles. You were in Asia Pac where we first met some time ago. You were actually the strategy office for the CEO of Cisco for a period of time, and we also crossed over there. So you would have some incredible insights into what happens behind the scenes, and some of which I'm sure you can share, and probably a lot that you can't, but really interesting insight there. But then you've also pivoted then into running all of enterprise networking globally from a sales perspective. I know we also rolled up to similar leaders for a period of time. You crossed over, I crossed out. You also run Thousand Eyes. So Thousand Eyes rolls up to you, which is the business I had an awesome chance to run. And that's what that little thing is behind you on the whichever that you're right. You also run the Meraki business and that transition that's been going on inside Cisco. I know there's a lot going on there. You know, all the enterprise networking, which is probably the vast majority of the billions and billions of dollars that comes in for Cisco. Congrats on the new promotion, SVP, leading it up. And also Dave, who you would have worked with in Asia Pac, now coming back to the US to run all the specialists. So a lot going on. Well, why don't we just start there? Maybe just give a little intro on what your role actually is, and what you've been up to, and then and a bit of the history, and I'd love to hear some of the changes that's going on at Cisco on the market and what's hot.
Sounds like a plan. You'll have to guide me along the way. That was a lot there. I could probably spend the next 2 hours, unpacking each element. Yeah. So first of all, great to see you. It's great to be here. So thanks for having me. So about me, it's been almost 18 years at Cisco. I never thought I'd be anywhere for 18 years, but it's been an incredible ride. And I've been very fortunate to see the company from a lot of different angles. So I'll start with today. So many roles. Absolutely. Yeah. Right. So today, you nailed it. I'm the SVP for our global networking sales team. So here at Cisco, we've got a enormous amount of frontline sellers that sell the whole portfolio. And there's a handful of us that really look after the individual technology areas. So I've got our kind of traditional Catalyst portfolio, which is switching, routing, wireless, Meraki portfolio along the same lines, Thousand Eyes, and I also have our industrial IoT portfolio.
Of course.
When you add that all up, it's about half of our product business. And you hit it earlier. We've been on this journey of integration, right? There's been so much transformation. Let's come back to that a little bit later, give you a little bit of my history. But I think that's just a great topic to dig into a little bit, because both the technology and the way that Cisco is going to market has really been evolving really over the last few years on the networking side. So been here, like I said, almost 18 years. I did, so I started out, my early career was consulting, and I know that's sometimes a bad word for folks, but I'll tell you what was great for me is just kind of young kid coming out of school, and it was an opportunity just to see companies in a lot of different ways. And I got started in the service provider world doing strategy work, which was part strategy, part kind of operations. And when you do operations, kind of new process and strategy for service providers, you pretty quickly get to software, and then you pretty quickly get to the networking elements that they use to deliver services for their customers. It's either defining services, or it's how they manage their networks, how they deploy those services, how they repair them when stuff doesn't go right. So you got a really big lens into networking. Left for a little while.
Which is our world. That's the
100%. No, this
this
was the foundation for me, like a really good basis in just the early days there. In the US, it was the time of deregulation. So there was all sorts of investment coming in.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. So that was kind of over a few roles. That was kind of my entry into Cisco. I was doing a lot of consulting work, more on the how companies operate, and was doing some work with Cisco. And um, early on, sold a project in, and one thing led to another. Like, hey, would you be interested in coming and doing this inside Cisco? And the reason I share the background is it kind of led me to being very internally focused for the first kind of 7 years. I really focused my time on kind of what we're doing to run Cisco, to pursue the opportunities that we had in the market, to deliver for our shareholders. And it was a very internal view of things. And it took me a little while. It took me moving to Asia, getting to know you and others. Kind of the first day there, I was like, hey, I really want to get back out to the broad market. Like, we're a big company, a lot of things keep me interested, but like, let me get out and see the world again. And that's how I transitioned
Was
into
that
being a sales
Irving's?
leader.
Which was that under Irving? I think yes,
So I was under Irving Tan. So I went out to
yes.
help lead operations for him. Dave West was running the SEs,
CTO,
and he was
yeah,
also
SEs,
the
yeah.
enterprise networking architecture leader in the region.
Oh, no way.
So
Yeah,
after, a year and a half or so, 2 years, I convinced Dave. He got promoted. He became the overall architecture leader. So he had enterprise networking. Collab was in the region at the
yeah.
time. He had data
Compute.
center.
Yeah,
He had
yeah, yeah,
service provider. Right,
yeah.
all these pieces. And yeah, I managed to convince him that I would be a viable candidate to replace him, to be his enterprise networking leader
Right.
working for Dave.
Yeah,
So that's kind of how I got to know him, and I have a lot to thank him for kind of getting
I
me into
agree.
this world at Cisco. And I've tried
Yeah.
very hard to stay here for a long time. It's been great.
No, it's well, Dave's done so well, and he's also. It's funny because it's like Irving was a pivotal moment there. Dave Irving's gone on to do some incredible stuff. He's, I think, CEO of the Western Digital.
Hmm. Exactly.
I think they've split that. I know there's multiple paths there. I can't remember how that's all landed, but that's exciting. Dave's then just. I mean, he spent his time in Japan. He then went. I think he went back to the US, then back to Japan, then across to
Exactly.
SVP of Asia Pac. Now he's come back and he's in, and I guess you're reporting to Dave now. I
I am.
guess it's
So he runs
sort of
all the
full circle.
specialists. It's interesting. So it's come full circle for Dave. He's now the overall specialist leader. But when I
Yeah,
was back at the as the EN leader in APJC, Gordon Thompson was the
yeah,
EN leader in EMEA.
EMEA.
He now
Yeah,
runs all of EMEA. So
yeah,
it's interesting now with a lot of the folks who've done a stint in networking being in
of
leadership
course.
roles here with
Kind of not
Oliver. So it's
surprising. I mean,
been
the
great.
networking is kind of a big deal at Cisco, so I think
It
it
is.
certainly makes a lot of sense. Yes, I was obviously in the specialist group when Patrick was there. So Patrick's now moved into the head of
Americas.
Americas, and you've got a new CRO, which is exciting
Oliver
as well.
Dudzik. Yep.
Yeah. So Oliver's, I mean, he ran Channel for a long time, Germany. So there's lots and lots of change. I think there's lots of great change. Got a new, or the chief product officer.
Hmm.
G2 has, I mean, he's killing it at the moment from what I can see. He's actually seems to be making some really big impacts publicly for Cisco. And I think that's been needed for a long time. Stock price probably like close to all time highs, lots and lots of benefits going on. That's like, everything's sort of powering. The AI explosion is definitely, I assume, helping Cisco as well. You guys are so well positioned. Everything needs to connect. All the networks have become key yet again. Sort of
That's right.
these sort of these cycles in time, and
That's right.
hardware is all of a sudden very very cool again. With Nvidia, sort of one of the largest companies on the planet, literally a
Mhm.
hardware and software company. Well, Cisco is a hardware and software company, and it's not easy to do that. So, how are you seeing Cisco in the market? What's changing in terms of the networking space? AI is obviously a big part of what you're doing, and
Huge.
we chatted last time. So, I don't know, just high levels on some of those viewpoints.
Yeah. Maybe I'll start with G2. Maybe take a little bit of an internal view and then play it back out to the market a bit. Look, you know, we have a very wide portfolio inside Cisco. And I think every one of our customers probably at one point in time or another has been frustrated that we have, different things that do the same thing, but optimized for different outcomes. And in many ways, like that was an asset for many, many years because we work with some of we work with some of the world's largest organizations that have very complex environments, and we pride ourselves on meeting those requirements. But it's a double-edged sword. So when you want to move quickly and you've met all those requirements, those two things don't always operate in concert. And I think one of the things that's been really exciting for me over the past, really 2 years, but really starting to accelerate when G2 came into his role about a year ago, is he's really brought that mentality of how do we get out there and really think about the experience that we're delivering for our customers around the entire portfolio? How do we start to challenge some of those complexities that, while they were probably the right answer at the time because they met some of those unique requirements for customers, I think our customers are struggling with some of that complexity, and now we're trying to simplify themselves. So he's really brought a singular focus on how do we simplify the portfolio, make it as customer centric as we possibly can, and
Yes.
really help to deliver those outcomes. He's also like massively improved the pace of innovation. Like he has brought a new sense of urgency to our engineering teams. It's been fantastic for me. I'm sitting on the sidelines of that cheering because we've been asking him to move faster for so long, and
Yeah.
we're really seeing it. So that's been really that's been fantastic. And
Well,
a
that was
lot of
a
what's
big pivot as to Meraki is a big part of that. You had this what was simple
100%.
and easy and so cloud driven. Then you had this very complicated, and over time they've been coming together. But it's in the last, and we've talked about that for years when we were at Cisco, and in the last year or two, it seems that it's all come together. Not only just engineering, well,
That's right.
engineering and all the go to market, and so actually it's real.
So there's two parts, right? So the product started to come together a little bit with Wi-Fi 6 a couple years ago,
Uh,
Wi-Fi 6E, but really when we introduced Wi-Fi 7, the first like Cisco AP unified license, so it can come up whether it's on a cloud platform, which is the
got
Meraki
it.
dashboard, or on-prem Catalyst
Okay.
Center, and that's now starting to roll through switching, which we announced at Cisco Live, routing, and the whole portfolio is really starting to converge. And you nailed it. It's the products, but it's also the teams, right? It's converging in engineering. We did this on the sales team about a year ago. We're kind of just finished our first full year of a frontline networking team that really wants to just meet our customers, whether they want to operate in the cloud or whether they want to be on
Yeah.
prem. And honestly, right now, what we're seeing is the vast majority of our customers are kind of in both camps. Most of them want to
Always.
really use the capabilities that cloud offers, but a lot of them are in an on-prem world or have compliance requirements or other things they're trying to
Correct.
solve for that makes that migration hard. So we're really leaning in to help with that. I will say there are areas that our competitors have done a good job of getting a little bit ahead of us, and I openly, welcome that. It keeps us on our
Good.
toes. It helps us to respond. We've
Yeah.
got to deal with the breadth of the portfolio and the customers that we've got, make sure that their investments stay protected as we drive this migration. But for us, we're super excited about the portfolio we have. And I will tell you, you asked earlier about AI and kind of how it's influencing. So G2 is kind of bringing everything together to really help simplify things, to drive the right outcomes, to deliver innovation faster. AI is to me the thing that we're both trying to capture to make sure that we're there for our customers, that we're there delivering technology that our customers want, that can carry them through those AI transitions and really help them deliver on AI outcomes, and also be there with the right innovation and technology such that we continue to grow as a company and serve
Yes.
our shareholders. Right. So it's
100%.
been a good balance.
Yes.
Um, you're seeing a huge part of it. And I would say the first wave of that was really heavily, and I would say we're probably still heavily in the data center, right?
Yeah.
It's about compute, it's about data center networking. You brought up NVIDIA, right? It's about how do you bring together all these elements to really have the most efficient model capabilities that you can have, the foundation to train and ultimately provide inferencing for models. What we see in networking, kind of my world, which is more the campus branch, we're just starting to see our customers kind of wake up to the reality that, you know what, once those models start to get trained and are capable, one of we see a big shift in the utilization of agentic capabilities, and those agentic capabilities are not going to stay back in a data center somewhere. There's going to be more and more use cases that'll start to move that out to the edge, and we
Agreed.
really see a world where whether it's robots or some physical manifestation on the other end that of connectivity, that we're trying to support, or whether it's agentic operators that are operating to support us as employees, we see it really changing the fabric of our campus and branch networks. And that's something I think our customers are just now starting to wake up to. And it's going to fundamentally change what we've got to do kind of out on the edge of those networks.
What we're seeing this as well. I mean, we live inside data centers, so we've been on this crazy, like, explosive journey where data centers are the hottest thing in the world. Everyone's throwing billions and billions of dollars at it. They're trying to get space. They're trying to get power. They're racing to build the craziest
Trying to
gigawatt.
cool it,
They're
right?
trying
Which
to
is a
cool it. Like,
massive problem.
it's completely wild out there. And then we are this data center. We live inside data centers, and then we're connecting all these pieces together. And it's funny because I think that the boom for Cisco is not even begun. And that is, yes, there's this data center element where people are quickly building physical data centers, and they're going to buy all the kit to go in the data centers. And of course, all the networking and the DC networking's no doubt exploding for you guys. And I caught up with Kevin Wallenweber a while ago, and he was just like, this thing's just like crazy.
It's
And
huge.
it's huge. But that's the first part. The second part is then actually all the enterprises picking it up, and they haven't yet picked it up. As in, they are slowly, but it's not at mass scale yet. And that's where we'll see, I think, for you, massive explosion in how AI is used at the edge. And what it does is, it's sort of funny. I was telling this to some of our shareholders. They're like, hey, how is the AI explosion benefiting Megaport? And I said, like, there's three things. I said that there's us actually connecting AI exchanges. So that's actually enabling the GPU as a service providers to live onto our platform, and so we can instantly get to them. I said there's actually AI companies that are buying from Megaport. Like, some of our top 10 customers are now AI companies that are building clouds globally that are using us. But I said, if I had to say the biggest impact, which is kind of like probably not intuitive enough for you to think about, is the whole process has been a board says to the CEO, hey, well, what's our AI strategy? What are we doing? Because we could get disrupted. And the CEO goes, talks to the to the CIO, your chief information officer, and said, hey, what's our AI strategy? Because we don't want to get disrupted by our competitors. And the CIO says, dude, we haven't done anything for the last 4 years because you've told us to stop spending and reduce our cost and hold this. And remember the COVID thing? Like, we have literally just been trying to cut our costs. So we're not doing anything. And then the CEO says, well, who's stopping you from doing that? It's like the CFO. And so the CEO says to the CFO, go, give that person some money to do something. And then the CIO does the first thing, and they go, well, if we're going to get ourselves sorted, we're going to have to get we're going to get Wi-Fi 7. We're going to have to get our networking up to date. We have to get our security up to date. And then we can start layering on these AI pieces. So it's like the one thing that IT has never missed is a great hype cycle to go and solve all the stuff that they needed to solve anyway. And on top of that, they will. So the point is they'll do that big build, which is going to be huge, I think, for you. Then on top of that, they're going to go actually get a whole bunch of AI stuff working at some point. And this agentic piece, all these different models that are custom built or specific to whatever the use case is, that's the next flow. So that'll be
Exactly
awesome. It's like, that's boom time for you guys.
Well, so let's break that down a little bit, because I think there's a few things. First of all, the first wave that I think we've seen, and I think in many ways what's fueling some of our growth now, is the tail end of that COVID cycle, right? We saw that hybrid work kind of hit. It's been a big return to office that we've seen kind of across the globe. It's never 100%. That pendulum is still swinging. But for the most part, I think our customers did wake up to the reality that their networks fundamentally needed to be modernized for a whole host of reasons, right?
Yes.
What I think is going to happen next is, you started to go there, right? And this is just one example, but you think the AI assistant today, we all use Chat GPT or, Perplexity or one of these other models out there. That interaction you have as a user doesn't really fundamentally change the bandwidth requirements. But as those AI assistants become more AI operators, they become more independent and supporting employees doing different tasks. We very much have an expectation that that capability starts to move closer and closer to the user, because you're going to have interaction with a user that's operating somewhat autonomously. And it's not just going to be one, it's going to be many. And so as you start to think about that in their role, you can see a world where the traffic patterns within the campus or in a small branch, like on site and across, really start to fundamentally grow and increase. And then you think of, I used the example of robots earlier, right? You really start to think of some of those external form factors, which are higher bandwidth requirements that can use AI models. So as we see that shift out to the edge, we definitely see a second wave coming. And it's
Agreed.
not just the connectivity and bandwidth requirements that are needed, right? Not, at the edge to serve users, but also back to, at least the overall models, right? I think we're going to see a little bit of a distributed model environment. But it's the security, because securing a network when you have multiple agents that are working there is a different thing than just trying to secure the user that sits on the other end. Because those agents are prone to, they represent cybersecurity risks just like a human does. And
100%.
you need to make sure that they're doing the things that they're supposed to be doing inside of a digital environment, just like you do with a human. And that interaction is going to bring new security requirements. So we really do see a lot of the activity now being about how do you create an environment that has the right level of connectivity and network infrastructure, but is also secure enough to really serve the world that we're going to be living in 5, 7 years from now, because that's like that is within reach to the decisions our customers are making about network infrastructure today. Like, you can't forget
Absolutely.
about that as you make that decision.
Agreed. And I think that's where I've always seen Cisco benefit when the big changes, big moves, moving to cloud, whatever. Everyone needs to get everything updated and ready, and then you can take the next step. The piece of If you look at all the other history of things that have come in and disrupted, it always happens like across a public internet. Like ChatGPT, we access that just through the public environment. The data that it's trained on is all public information, and it sits inside a public registry. It's like everything's public about that. The next step is everything has to, if you want to bring that into the enterprise, everything needs to remain private. You can't hack it or steal the data. To your point, what's funny is like the next problem is that these AI bots hallucinate. They do weird things that we don't fully understand. And it's like humans do weird things that we don't fully understand half the
That's
time
right.
as well. And so, um, what needs to happen is all of this private. It needs to be protected. It needs to be secure. It needs to access only the data that it needs to have access to. It needs to spit out the data that it's allowed to share that data with that particular person. Like that is the next piece of it. And the reason we haven't seen it in your workplace hugely, like we're not seeing humans replaced yet, or certainly we're not seeing major human replacements. And I don't actually think we will fully see that. I think what will happen is the treadmill just gets faster. Everyone just runs faster. But at some point, there will be these things doing these jobs that help the whole company move forward very quickly. But protecting all of that information is going to be paramount. And that's the tricky part. And that's why I don't think we've seen it. That's why I say that it's still coming. This massive transition is still coming. It was like the early days of cloud. Early days, everyone's like, we're all going to get into cloud. And then, now look at it. It's so big. But back then it was such early days and everyone thought it was sort
Well,
of
totally.
everyone.
And everybody
Yeah.
thought we were going to wind up 100% cloud with
Yes.
everything. That pendulum kind of swung a little bit back and forth. I'd say we're
Correct.
probably more, purely hybrid in the middle now. As AI comes up, it's leaning back towards cloud, because to
Of
build some
course.
of these, large models to really get the training that you need, it's really hard to do that within a private data center unless you have really large resources. So it is interesting how that shift is happening. I really think, to the point about the humans, I think the world that we're going to be living in is one where we as workers do more and more leaning on AI to support us, and we become more productive and more thoughtful.
Yes.
And it's really the more um, kind of, I don't want to say administrative, but it's some of the tasks that are not quite as value added. And that definition will change, but I see it as an enabling function. And I think it's on us to help develop, young talent in a way that doesn't fully replace what we have that talent doing, right? That we find different ways to scale. But I do think it's going to change the face of work in the enterprise. And I think we're going to see it over a period of time. Um, and we see customers today grappling with, where do you really get value out of it? Like, I think that's still the thing is, that
Yeah.
it's still in the hype cycle where the true hard use cases of delivering value are not as widespread as we need them to be to see the cycle really prove itself out.
Yeah, and that's I think I can't remember. Jensen just talked about it. I think it was just the other day. This whole inference being the next big
Hmm.
play. And that it's sort of back to your point. You were
That's right.
saying everything sort of it will start centralized in this cloud, and then it starts to move to the edge as all those robots, whatever the fast decisions need to be made. But he had some insane prediction. Like he was basically saying that whatever they've done today, which is so big, inference, is 1,000 times more in terms of infrastructure, in terms of rollout to build out, which is kind of staggering. Even if you're orders of 100 magnitude off, it's still
Staggering.
yeah, it's
100%.
so insane.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's interesting. I talked about, Cisco's breadth. I might have used the word complexity, but let's call it breadth now, right? We built a lot over the years to really meet what our customers need. And, we're also in the process of how do we apply AI to that landscape so that we can simplify the customer experience, deliver the value to our customer while still having that depth and breadth of capability behind the scenes so that our customers really get the best of both worlds, right?
Yes.
I definitely would say that kind of, you know, pre where we are today in AI, we were under a lot of pressure to really simplify. We had too much stuff for some of our customers, and they were just finding it hard to navigate. Even if you take through the list of each one of those things, and there was value in it, they're like, that this is a complicated space, and Cisco, you need to make it easier. Peace. Like we know we need to do that. Um, but it is great because AI is starting to offer us avenues to do that quickly and with a level of not having to make the same trade-off of moving away from capability to be able to do that, right? So we just introduced something called AI Canvas. The early use cases are early use cases are in any customer environment, their operations teams are working across, in most cases, multiple domains to troubleshoot a problem, right? A user's having a hard time buying something on the shopping cart. Is it the connectivity? Is it the application? Is it the security protocol? Like there's so many different things that could be wrong, and those so many different things are often managed by so many different teams. So rather than replacing the individual controllers and domains that have depth in those areas, like security, like network operations, can you abstract that and bring the elements of the problem together dynamically that's supported by AI so that you can work with it to troubleshoot and then hand off your work so that somebody else can pick up where you left off or can provide their domain expertise in a common canvas to be able to solve the problem. Like it's really kind of powerful cross domain capability that
Totally.
was, just think about how hard that would have been
So
even a
hard.
year ago, right? So
Yeah.
we are seeing some of these things that I think are going to help us take a level of depth and technology and really make it easier for customers to achieve value through it. We're excited about that.
I mean, I know we're running up against the time, but the piece I'll say on our side is Megaport's this really interesting company where it spent its life automating network infrastructure from day one. So everything is totally automated. And what I find really funny is when we hire a network engineer at Megaport, the first thing they do is they try to log on to a Cisco switch and actually try and change CLI. Now, the interesting thing is they come in and the first thing they get told is you actually cannot log into a switch. There's not a single device you can log into. What you need to do is log into the code that manages the entire network, 3,500 Cisco devices in 26 countries and 1,000 data centers. You need to log into the software that drives that, because if you log into any single device, you break the automation globally. And so what's really interesting is we've been on this journey for a long time, not to log into every single device. Because remember, it's like, as you pointed out,
Totally.
it's like this one dude who knows how to log into every device. He like literally controls the keys to the entire networking, the entire communications for the company. And we've had to push them over time, and changing people's mindset to get out of just logging to the device is super difficult. But where you're headed with all the AI space is you'll in theory get to a point where you don't have this one single, Messiah, God, whatever, running the entire network that knows how to log into everything. What you'll have is you'll be able to explain what you need to do to something ideally and pass that through. So it's not like sort of secret source that no one really understands how they can manage or run. And then inside that source is where the complexity lives. And it's the reason you can't extract, because they've got a special way of doing something that a newer
Totally.
platform doesn't do, and you end up just stuck. So I feel like we've seen it as a company because we built that way. I think what's going to happen is all companies will benefit from this once it gets more, I think, mature.
I
Mm.
think that's right. The abstraction that you just talked about was one of the most significant changes in networking. Like,
Yeah,
really being able to take all this complexity and get it to a place where you could automate in a simple way without knowing every little type of device that sits
correct.
below and the different configuration commands to make it do what you want it to do. Oh, and then how do you make sure you didn't break something with each subsequent command that you add like that. Like that was a complex world. So that abstraction was huge. I think what AI now brings on top of is the ability to bring in knowledge, right? We also talked at our Cisco Live last year about, in June this year, excuse me, about a deep network, an AI model that we built that was trained very specifically on the depth that Cisco knows of networking, right? Not just the CCIE books that are out there,
Yes.
a number of which we wrote, but also different data sources inside the company. And we presented some statistics on its performance on the CCIE exam over CCIEs, right? So you're starting to
That's
build this
cool.
knowledge in that can apply some of that abstraction, right?
But the CCIE AI, Agentic CCIE.
But if you think about it, like this is a great application of AI. Is AI and its evolution ought to really be able to help us get on top of some of the niggling problems that we've had in networks that even automation hasn't been able to solve. Like, I think that's kind of where I see this evolving. Like we've been on a journey for a long time of that like self-healing network, and I think AI really gives us the tools to be able to do that. You mentioned hallucination earlier. It's not going to be overnight, but this is what all of us are pursuing right now, and I think you're right. It's got some great benefits. I will say, you mentioned the journey you all have been on. You all have been a great partner for us. I mean, if I think about what we do on the SD-WAN side in particular, the ability to partner with Megaport to be able to really offer customers this ability to go faster to deliver the outcomes they're trying to deliver, particularly across these multi-cloud environments where all of our customers, I should say it differently, very few of our customers are only resident in one cloud, right? We know today it's almost impossible. And it's not a good redundancy architecture to only be in one cloud because, yes, there's redundancy built and there's redundancy built into that, but
Oh,
it's
we've
not
seen examples
perfect.
where entire companies have disappeared in the
That's
cloud.
right. That's right. No,
Yeah.
100%. So, to me, I do think we've got a lot more that we can do together on that front, and it's just what we can deliver for customers. I think is fantastic, and that automation, the abstraction, that ability to do things in software, I think is at the heart of it, and that's something that we're really proud of. And I know it's been fantastic working with you on that.
Well, we love the SD-WAN team inside your business as well. We also procure a lot of switching infrastructure. That's the entire core is built on that. I think, as I said, with 3,500 switches, we're building out more data centers than ever before. So basically, that means a whole range of more Cisco infrastructure that gets rolled out. So we're excited about that. We love the partnership. Um, I think that the future is really exciting, particularly from the AI space and all these pieces. But even just servicing the customers to deliver connectivity is still such a critical play. The hybrid cloud environment is actually getting more complicated. I mean, if you look at Oracle's announcements most recently, now there's another big cloud player like that's absolutely dominating, and you've got CoreWeaves appearing, and it's just getting more fragmented from a cloud perspective. So this sort of, we call ourselves the Switzerland connector between it all. So yeah, thank you for everything that you've done for us. We're obviously not only a big customer, but also a partner. I think I'm coming to see you guys at San Diego for the
Summit coming up
partner
here.
summit coming up. So yeah, I'll
Very
come in.
good.
I don't know if you're getting there, but if you're there, I'll
Oh,
come
I'll
say
be
hi.
there. Uh,
Awesome.
I
Well,
will say it's these days it feels like things are moving very fast, right? The technology is moving fast. AI enables us to move faster, but it also has its challenges. We're all learning how to get to the right, value propositions. I know I talk to our engineering teams, more and more of what they do is AI assisted, which is just incredible. And I'm really hoping it helps to drive some of that innovation faster. But I feel like I'm in every event these days, not just to talk about the great stuff we're doing or hear about the great stuff our customers are doing or partners, but just to keep up. Like it is hard to keep up with how fast, like I gotta say, for any CIO that's listening, man, it'd be hard to make decisions these days. Like
Oh,
really, because it's such a fragmented landscape, and I don't think any of us have it end to end solved. Like we're certainly trying to solve more of the problem to simplify that, but I have a lot of sympathy, empathy. I was in those similar shoes for a long time, trying to make decisions with customers on how they were going to spend their money, and man, it's hard these days to get to the right thing because everything's moving so fast.
placing the right bets is really tricky because things move so quickly. But actually, one thing that you can be certain of, it's one of the questions I got asked is, what are the things that you are certain that are not going to change? Which is a really good way to think of things. And the answer is Cisco ain't changing. In terms of you need Cisco, that ain't changing. It's a great bet. So when you're making a decision, even all the investment that we're putting in, you could go and invest in all this different infrastructure. It's like actually the easiest decision is to go, well, we're very comfortable with what Cisco is doing. We know they're going to be there. We have to have connectivity. That is a very, very simple bet, which is why I think that you're in a really good position. Lots of the other companies, whilst frothy, maybe a good bet. They might not be there in a bit. It's so hard. Like imagine trying to pick your AI model to build your company on. Well, which one is it? Is it OpenAI? Is it Llama? Is it this? Is it X AI? I don't know.
You want a little bit of investment protection, right? And you can
Yeah.
either go place bets across a bunch of different vendors, or you can place bets with one who has breadth such that if one isn't the right one and things turn left, there's another one that is gonna pay off, right? Like at the end of the day, our size and scope, I mentioned this earlier, it's a double-edged sword, right? There are things that it allows us to do for our customers at breadth. It means we may not be the fastest in the narrower capabilities, but I would never bet against us getting caught up on the ones that really stick and that really add value. I love our competition pushing us on that. We're not always going to get there the right way. Our customers do a great job of pushing us on that as well. But I do think that's one of the advantages we've got as we look forward. I think it's one of the advantages you all have as you look across the different cloud players is that being the glue that helps to really connect and enable services across all of them, the way that you all do, I think it has great staying power, and I'm certainly excited about that. I'm excited about how it fits with our capabilities and what it's going to do for our customers.
Think you're a legend. Really appreciate having you on the Uplink podcast. Great to chat. I'll catch you in San Diego. Awesome, man. Cheers.
Thanks for having me. I can't wait to see you, and we'll talk soon.